What could Penn State's season look like next year? Let's stop stalling and start talking wrestling. What's going on, wrestling fans? My name's Josiah, and welcome to Big Ten Tuesday, where I take on a topic about the Big Ten every single week. So if you're interested in a topic, make sure you leave that down in the comments below. Now, this week we're talking about 10 things that will absolutely come true for the Nittany Lions next year. And yes, I'm so excited to talk about this. I've got my Penn State hat on, which I want to let you know you can buy actually for yourself. You can check it out down in the description below. I will have it linked, and it's actually something that if you do purchase, it will end up helping the channel. But that's just if you're a Penn State fan. Now, looking at some of the most important things, some of the things that will come true for Penn State, the first thing that I want to talk about is this season will look more like 2016 than it did in 2020. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, the last time, and the thing that's most important here is Penn State doesn't have a returning national champion. And the last time that Penn State didn't have a returning national champion was during the 2015-2016 season. Now, what did the 2015-2016 season look like? Yes, there were returning All-Americans, and these are the returning All-Americans in 2015 and 2016. So, obviously, an incredible list of All-Americans. Whereas in this year, they have returning Rome Bravo-Young and Nick Lee. Now, yes, there was not a national tournament this year, which did end up hurting them. I think that a guy who could have been on this list, returning All-American, would have been Aaron Brooks. I think he could have been a returning All-American, but obviously, unfortunately, we did not get to see that. Now, the other thing that I think is important to note here is that 2015-2016 team was impressive. I mean, Megaludis, Conaway, Gulabon, Rutherford, McIntosh, absolutely unbelievable guys, and a lot of them ended up winning titles going into that year. So now, do I think that all these guys from Penn State are going to win titles next year? No, not necessarily. But I think what's important to note here is that coming into 2015-2016, we saw a lot of guys break out. We saw a lot of guys come into the Penn State lineup. Looking at Zane Rutherford, who had a breakout season and went 35-0 undefeated, won nationals. Jason Nolf, who ended up taking second and pinned Immel during that season, which was unbelievable. And then you also had Bo Nickel, who ended up taking second at nationals. These were all breakout guys, young guys, and I think that we could see the same thing with a lot of Penn State's freshmen coming into this season. I'll get to who those freshmen are in just a minute in an upcoming prediction. But the next prediction that I have here is about the 125-pounders. And if you're a Penn State fan, you've been following them for a while, you know that there's been an issue at 125 pounds. And this issue mostly comes from the fact that, I mean, personally, I believe it's cursed. I think there's something going on with there between Nick Soriano leaving, Gavin Teasdale, Brody Teske, all these guys transferring out. It's just cursed. But this year, I believe we will finally have an impressive guy here in Robert Howard. Robert Howard is a state champ, multiple times state finalist from Bergen Catholic. He's also a Cadet World team member and a Super 32 finalist. Now, he's a solid guy out of New Jersey, which does give me a little bit of scared. I'm a little bit scared there because do not transfer to Rutgers, Howard. Please do not transfer to Rutgers like Nick Soriano. I mean, you could if that's what's best for you, but please, I have a little bit of scaredness there. I'm kind of afraid there. But, you know, he may or may not start. We still have Devin Stump in the lineup, still have Brandon Meredith, but I think that this year, 125 pounds may finally have a winning record, may finally do really well for the Nittany Lions, and that's my prediction there at 125 pounds. But as we move on to my next prediction, and this is a big one, this is a massive one, it kind of relates to my first point, is that up to 5 freshmen will become the talk of the season in just 1 year. I believe in 1 year, 5 freshmen from Penn State will become the talk of the season. There are 5 impact freshmen coming into next season for the Nittany Lions that can do very, very well. Now, before I get into who those are, I want to include this here, that the 2018 Penn State recruiting class is finally coming together. The 2018 recruiting class included Aaron Brooks, Michael Beard, Rowan Bravo-Young, Joe Lee, Seth Nevels. All these guys are in 2018, and it's finally coming together. The number 1 recruiting class of that year. Now, what's important to note here is that the last time there was the number 1 recruiting class was actually in 2014, whenever Penn State brought on Jason Nolf, Bo Nickel, Seth Nevels, Nick Nevels, as well as Shakur Rashid. And we saw how well those guys did. So what's the potential for this year? So these impact freshmen right now, as we see them, are Robert Howard, Joe Lee, Srirachi, Michael Beard, and Greg Kirkfleet. Now, Robert Howard's guy I already talked about at 125 pounds. I already mentioned a couple of his things, but Joe Lee, brother of Nick Lee, was number 20 ranked. Overall number 20 in the class of 2018, multiple-time Indiana State champion, and 14-2 as a redshirt last year. I think he'll do well coming into next season. Carter Sirachi out of Pennsylvania had a 172-10 high school record, 96-match winning streak with 2 state titles. So that 96 match winning streak, is very impressive, and I think that really fits well into the lineup with Penn State, who is used to getting winning streaks like that. Next up, Michael Beard, number 11 in the class of 2018 overall. Also a guy who had a winning streak of 95 matches, just one short of Sirachi, 172-7 overall in his high school career, and a national prep champion. He was 13-3 in his redshirt year, which I think he'll be able to transition well over into the college scene. And he is he's going to do well there as an upper weight, as well as Greg Kirkfleet, who is the heavyweight, who originally was committed to Ohio State and is now committed at Penn State. He was the number 1 ranked recruit in the class of 2019, which is big for Penn State. Now, he was a 4-time Minnesota State champion, an undefeated senior season is what he had, so a nice win streak there. A cadet world champion and undefeated in his redshirt year. I'm so excited to see these 5 freshmen take on the scene next year. Please let me know how you think they'll do in the comments below. But the next prediction that I have is, even with all these guys, even with these tough guys, I think that the team is going to have a little bit of a rocky start. And why do I think they're going to have a rocky start? That's because you see a lot of new guys coming in. We saw, when Mark Hall first started out his freshman year, had a little bit of a rocky start at the beginning of the season, and then ended up coming into it towards the end, whenever he pulled his red shirt and ended up winning a national title. Next guy who I think had similar syndromes here is Vincenzo Joseph. I was actually there for his first match in Rec Hall against Stanford, where he had a match 18-12. I mean, it was a crazy scoring match. I remember watching it, and he ended up losing that match, but just didn't really look like Vincenzo Joseph as we know him today. Towards the end of the season, he obviously came into his own and ended up pinning Immel. What an incredible season that Vincenzo Joseph had. But I think that the team's going to hit a little bit of a rocky start with a lot of these new guys. Now, are they able to come back from that? Are they able to come forward? I believe so. I think they'll be able to recover from the rocky start because they'll have to. They have to uphold that winning streak at home. Yes, they lost their winning streak last year to Arizona State and then losing to Iowa, but this year they still have their home winning streak, which is 40 matches going back to 2015. Their last loss in Rec Hall was to Minnesota, and their last home loss was actually just to Iowa, which was in February of 2015. So I think that is key, and I think it's going to have to be something that the Nittany Lions uphold. Now, the next prediction I have is that there will be no front runner for a national title. You have, in the past, you've had Bo Nickel, clear front runner, Zane Rutherford front runner, Vincenzo Joseph, as well as Mark Hall. All these guys were pretty much front runners, and even if you want to go back further, looking at David Taylor or an Ed Ruth or a Nico Megaludis, who've come in at number 1, number 2 in past seasons, and we just kind of know that these guys have a good shot of winning a national title. Now, who does Penn State have this year? You got Nick Lee, you have Rome Brava Young, you have Aaron Brooks, who I think are all contenders for a national title, and who knows about the freshmen, but I don't think any of them are clear-cut winners, front runners for a national title, where some of those other guys were. Could they win it? Sure, but I don't know if they're front runners. And speaking of that, guys, speaking of Nick Lee, I believe that Nick Lee will give Yanni a match. Now, am I crazy for thinking that? Maybe, maybe not. Do I think he's going to win it? Maybe, maybe not. But I think he's going to give him a match. Now, these two have actually wrestled in the past. They've wrestled in college before, but it was a while ago. It was during Nick Lee's redshirt freshman year and Yanni's first month of college wrestling. It was a 12-7 score at the Bearcat Open whenever Yanni got the better of Nick Lee. Now, to be honest with you, I've rewatched this match. I'll have it linked in the description below. And Yanni had full control the entire time. I mean, Nick Lee started making a little bit of a comeback, but for the most part, Yanni was in control. He knew what he was doing there. Now, since that time, we've had some drastic changes to Nick Lee's style of wrestling. Just seeing his matches against Pletcher last year, I mean, absolutely turned around from how he's wrestled in the past, and his bonus point percentage has just gone through the roof. I think that his style and Yanni's can match up well. Now, the thing, too, that I think is very important to note here is that the guy who has most recently beat Yanni, not in college, but in freestyle, is Zane Rutherford. And where's Zane Rutherford training? At Penn State with Nick Lee. Now, like I said, it wasn't freestyle, but the thing that Penn State does, I think, incredibly well is study film, study just the little nuances in guys' styles, and I think that Nick Lee is going to be able to give Yanni a match. The other guy who's going to be able to give somebody a match is Greg Kirkfleet and Gable Steveson. Now, my prediction here is that Kirkfleet, the heavyweight incoming freshman, will defeat Gable Steveson at least once this season. We could see them wrestle up to 3 times, looking at a duel, looking at Big Tens, as well as the at nationals. We could see them wrestle up to 3 times. Now, these two have wrestled actually in the past. They've wrestled in high school in 2018 whenever Greg Kirkfleet bumped up from 220 to heavyweight to take on Gable Steveson in front of a massive crowd in Apple Valley, 2,000 fans. Incredible. Now, Steveson won that match 3-2, a close 3-2 match, and it was just a great match. Incredible to see, and we'll see that possibly happen again this year if these two take each other on. Now, after that, which is I think was crazy, is what Gable Steveson said.
You figure you'll run into him someday on the college circuit?
Yeah. We'll get to the NCAA finals. It's not going to look like this. The score's not going to be 3-2 next time. All respect for him, but I'm coming for it. It's mine.
That's what Gable Steveson had to say in that interview right after the match. He knew that these two were going to be facing each other yet again. The next thing that I think, the next prediction I have is that the bonus points will keep coming. Penn State is famous for having these incredible bonus point streaks, and that's really what wins them national titles time and time again. The front runner, I think, for Penn State is Nick Lee. Last year, he had a 93% bonus point percentage or something crazy like that until like the last month of the season when that kind of went down after he had some tight matches with guys and having a 76% bonus point percentage, pin after pin after pin, tech fall. I mean, this guy's a point scorer like crazy. You also have Rome Bravo Young, who isn't notoriously known for scoring bonus points, but still does a pretty good job of it, as well as you have some of these incoming freshmen who I already mentioned their winning streaks in high school, and what I think is important to note here is that they're used to getting pins. They're used to scoring points, and I think that's going to transition well into their Penn State style of wrestling. Srirachi, who had a 63% bonus percentage in his redshirt year, as well as Greg Kirkfleet, who had a 67% bonus point percentage in his redshirt freshman year, and even in high school he had a pin in the state finals. I mean, this kid is unbelievable. And then you also have Aaron Brooks, who wasn't necessarily starting out with a lot of a great bonus point percentage, not a lot of pins and tech falls and bonus, but seeing him pin Taylor Venz at the Big Ten Championships really gave me hope that Penn State can be coming alive in the upcoming season. Now, next up is that my number 9 prediction, before I get to my last one, number 9 prediction is that the Iowa Hawkeyes will continue to jeer. They will absolutely continue to jeer and attack the Penn State fans, and that's what makes this rivalry so fun. The Hawkeyes are out for blood. After not getting their official NCAA title this past season because nationals were canceled, there you have a team that's stronger than ever, a fan base that's stronger than ever, and they're tying together. They want to beat the Nittany Lions and win that national title. And because of that, those fans are going to keep on those Nittany Lions until they want that home victory. They want that national title. Last year, of course, they beat them in their own home in Iowa, but they want to beat them again without Mark Hall, without Vincenzo Joseph, and they stand a good chance this year yet again. We'll see how it turns out, but the Iowa Hawkeyes will definitely continue to jeer. And the number 10 prediction is that fan support will continue to grow. Rivalries are continuing to boom, especially between Iowa and Penn State. Freshmen will come onto the scene, and upsets will go down. This is going to be an incredible season. There's going to be so much buzz, so many new storylines to follow, and the fans are going to love it. To me, it's the good guys Penn State against the bad guys Iowa, and it's going to be fun for wrestling fans all around. Now, if you're interested in checking out another Big Ten topic, I recommend that you check out this video right here. If you love this video, you're going to enjoy watching this video.